Bucharest, September 13th, 1964, 11 p.m. Philip and Seraphia. Philip and Seraphia came once more. George, welcome our beloved friends. Philip, we too are joyful to have you as friends. We experience joy in your presence, for we are always near you, even before you call upon us. Now, tell us what you wish. George, Philip, when I speak to you, do you hear me directly, or only through Veronica? Philip, directly. Will you allow me to test this? I shall go into the next room and say something aloud where Veronica cannot hear me, and afterward I would like you to repeat the words. Philip, very well, go. I stepped into the other room, so Veronica could not hear me, and asked a random question aloud. Then I returned. George, what did I say? Philip, I did not hear your voice. George, then you do not hear me directly, only through Veronica. Philip, go once more into the next room and say something again. I repeated the experiment, speaking clearly where Veronica could not hear me. Afterward, I returned. Philip, no, my friend, again I heard nothing. George, then that means you hear me only through her. Philip, but why do you wish to know this? George, I want to understand whether the hearing of spirits can receive the same vibrations and frequencies that our physical ear and auditory organs register. I conclude that just as we cannot hear you, neither can you hear us. What enormous barriers exist between these two substances. How then do you know what we are saying? Philip, from the vibrations that arise from within you, we understand the idea forming spontaneously in your mind. We also feel your emotional states, and experience them almost as though they existed within ourselves. George, then you cannot hear our music directly. Our musical instruments must be unknown to you. Philip, we know them through you. When you listen, we rejoice with you. Yet in our world there exist harmonies of beauty beyond anything you could imagine. George, but forms, can you see forms? Philip, what forms? George, houses, buildings, things like that. Philip, those we can see. At that moment I held up a flower from the vase before us. George, and this, what is it? Veronica's eyes remained closed. Philip, we cannot see what you are holding. I picked up a pencil. George, and this? Philip, we cannot see that either. George, do you at least know how I am dressed? Philip, through our friend Veronica. Through the images she herself forms mentally, we understand such things. That is how we know about houses, buildings, and everything else. George, but the negative substance, the spiritual essence of flowers, for example, can you see that? Philip, yes. Could you bring us a flower? Veronica suddenly smiled. Veronica, Philip is saying something to Seraphia. He is sending her to bring flowers. She has left. Philip, I have sent her to fetch them. Yes, beloved friends, this is how we work among you unseen. We show you many things. We whisper many things. Often you do not realize who is inspiring you or transmitting joy into your hearts. And just as you experience joy, so too do we rejoice through you. We also feel your sorrows, though admittedly with less intensity than you yourselves do. A moment later, Veronica spoke again excitedly. Veronica, Seraphia has returned. George, already? Veronica, oh, what beautiful flowers she has brought. I have never seen such beauty. She holds them in her arms, while laughing happily. Now she is taking one flower between her fingers to show it to me. George, where did you bring these flowers from? I had originally meant earthly flowers, and now I realize they came from elsewhere. Seraphia, these flowers come from our own garden, from our dwelling place, where we possess perfect joy and peace. George, from where exactly? Seraphia, from urine. Pay attention. She is showing them to me one by one, so I may describe them. The first resembles a peony, pale red in color, but with petals shaped more like our poppies. Seraphia, this flower represents nourishment for those exhausted by missions and labor. Simply by gazing upon it, we become satisfied and filled. Veronica, now she shows me another, resembling a lily, but larger and richer. Seraphia, this one is for thirst. Merely looking at it quenches our thirst completely. Philip, do you understand now, my friend? Your forms themselves, through their radiations, nourish and sustain you. They contain such concentrated energy that they literally feed you. Even physically, this makes sense. Among humans, too, there are those who feed themselves emotionally through harmonies and beauty, though our heavy physical bodies still demand material nourishment. Veronica, oh, what a magnificent flower. It is as large as a sunflower, shaped somewhat like a chrysanthemum, but glowing with fiery red color. Seraphia. This flower is love. No one can truly see love itself, but merely by looking upon this flower, we feel fulfilled and complete. Its satisfaction comes only through vision. Such is its power. Veronica. Now she shows another flower, impossible to describe. Something like a cyclamen, but darker. Seraphia. The power of the work, the strength of mission. This flower gives us strength for our labor among earthly people. Veronica. Another one now. Impossible to describe. Such extraordinary combinations of petals and stamens. It almost seems woven from silk, with tassel-like forms falling from one side. Seraphia. This flower is rest. Through its fragrance, one enters complete repose. George, please let her smell it. Seraphia. I already have, but it is not good for earthly people to taste too deeply the beauties from beyond. George. Why not? Because we could take you for a few moments out of your body and show you our dwelling place. But afterward, you would long for it so intensely that you would desire nothing except to return there as quickly as possible. George. Could you truly take her? Seraphia. Do you wish it? George, would there be any difficulty returning her spirit back into the body afterward? Seraphia. No danger whatsoever. Veronica. No. Perhaps it is better that I do not know. George. That must be why humanity feels nostalgia for another life. Perhaps at some time long ago we tasted such beauty, and now some memory of it remains within us, causing us to long constantly for something beyond this world. Philip, our beloved friend, has always wished to reach paradise quickly. If she truly saw these places now, she would desire it even more strongly. George, do we ourselves have some place prepared for us there? Philip, everything has already been prepared for you, but you must not know about it. If people become too eager to reach such places, they sometimes abandon their earthly responsibilities prematurely, leaving unfinished work behind for others to complete. That is not good. Veronica, she is showing us another flower now, one made up of many greenish blossoms, with what seem like seeds in the center. The petals hang downward. I cannot describe it. Seraphia. Peace. Where these flowers grow, there is perfect peace. That is their nature. They love stillness, and from their stillness we too receive peace. Any spirit, simply by gazing upon them, is filled with complete tranquility. And there are countless such flowers. Philip, do you know why you long so much for the life beyond? Because you once lived there. But just because you once dwelled near Urin, do not imagine that you will necessarily return there again. A treasure may belong to you, yet you can lose it if you do not strive to regain your place. But does not greater effort raise a person higher? Why should someone lose what was earned on earth, or gain more through that pure and noble thirst for greater light? Philip, from whatever level you presently occupy, you may ascend higher if you are called for a mission. Tell me, are you today the same being you once were long ago? George, no. And for every effort you made, you received its reward, the fruit of your labor. Today you are no longer what you were 300 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago. If you return to earth 15 times, you no longer remain master of those 4 places, no matter how hard you once worked there. You become a permanent inhabitant only when you no longer return to earth. George, as you yourselves are? Philip, the moment you return to earth, that place becomes available for another. You remain its true inhabitant only after you cease returning among earthly people. Then, if capable, you may still fulfill certain missions among humanity, giving counsel, guidance, and afterward return once more to your dwelling place, just as we do. The reward for one's effort is gathered while living among earthly people. What you labor for, that you possess. The one who gives is merciful, yet just. No one receives more than he has earned. There the law is obeyed without exception. George, are there houses there? Buildings? Philip, yes. A home, a palace, even a tree unknown to your world, whose drooping foliage forms marvelous chambers and resting places. In our world, there are no seasons as on earth. Many rejoice simply from the radiance of such trees, feeling joy in their living breeze, for these trees fulfill every need. But ordinary spirits do not possess such things. Only those who have made great efforts do. The common ones are content even with a simple resting place, merely so they may gaze upon the trees of those who earned them. That alone becomes their joy. Terrible indeed is the punishment of those who made no effort, a punishment they impose upon themselves, because they never strove to deserve even the smallest sapling. The foliage itself gives everything needed: beauty, warmth, food, drink. In short, it fulfills every desire. Only a few possess palaces, and these palaces are not made of brick, stone, or clay as on earth. They are formed from a living substance, radiating continually everything the spirit needs, filling it with overwhelming happiness simply through beholding them. George, are these things given to spirits by someone? Philip, no, each person builds them himself while living on earth, through his own effort. Everything depends on how one lives and works. If someone lives carelessly and lazily, listening to the whispers of impure spirits, everything collapses. Such beings become evil spirits who can do nothing on earth except harm others. Out of envy, because they cannot accomplish what others have, they try to drag everyone downward beneath themselves. That is the true result of envy. At that moment, Veronica lowered her head and pressed her hands against her temples. George, what is it, Ninel? Veronica, my head hurts, especially near the back of the brain. George, Philip, please make some magnetic passes over her. Veronica leaned forward, resting her forehead against the table. Less than half a minute later, she straightened up again. Veronica, the pain is gone. George, why did you not help her before I asked? Philip, without your request, we cannot intervene. George, so you need openness from us? Philip, that is precisely the meaning of the desires you direct toward us in what you call prayers. Seraphia, I brought all these flowers for you, and now you forget about them. Veronica, she is so sweet, always quiet, gentle, withdrawn. Now she is showing a tiny bouquet of flowers, like forget-me-nots, only pale violet in color. Seraphia, these flowers represent the desires to work and live of children who died too young. These little flowers sparkle whenever they find new parents and are able to reincarnate. If they fail, they return and remain flowers. George, and these too grow in your gardens? Seraphia, yes. But how do you explain the existence of these palaces? Who constructs them? Philip, there are many who even from childhood begin laying the foundations for such palaces. Let our friend tell you how she helped old Ileana when she herself was still very little. Veronica, I knew it was technically stealing when I secretly took soap and food from my aunt. But I also knew I was helping helpless old people, and that brought me joy. And love is the strongest foundation anyone can lay upon earth. The efforts of children are especially precious because reason has not yet become hypocritical. Adults act through reasoning, doing good or evil, depending on whether their minds are guided toward light or darkness, according to the influences they receive from good or evil spirits. There are spirits like us, but there are also spirits among the wicked. These are beings who accomplish nothing while alive and can no longer return to earthly bodies, so they continue acting invisibly. If humans fail to judge wisely the influences around them, they fall under the attraction of these dark spirits and are dragged downward by them. These evil beings delight in seeing others beneath them. Those with dark colors have no escape, no salvation. They are lost forever. They are what you call devils and Satan. George, can such spirits ever reincarnate again? Philip, when they become too evil, no. They remain only to sow intrigue among nations. George, then Beria must be one of them. Philip, yes. George, I would like to see him. Philip, if you saw him you would die of terror. George, then call some lesser ones, closer to us, so we may see what they are like. Silence followed. Philip has stretched out his right hand, as though giving an order. Oh, they are beginning to come. 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 13. How hunched and hideous they are. George, let one come closer and speak. Veronica. One approaches, with hateful eyes, the summoned evil spirit. Spirit, wretches, what do you want from us? Why do you torment us? Philip, hear how the scoundrel speaks. Veronica, another one is being forced closer. A black man with huge lips. He looks African. Philip, this one helped overthrow a righteous government. That is why he is so dark. The black-lipped spirit. If I had power, I would strangle you this instant. You want to show humanity what you know? We will draw them to us instead. The greater our conquests become, the greater our satisfaction. The more people we gather, the greater our joy. George, what do you think of yourselves? Are you good? The black-lipped spirit. Ha! We are evil. Veronica, leave, you cursed beings. Even your voices are ugly and repulsive. The black-lipped spirit. We wander endlessly like you do, cursing both you and ourselves, yet never succeeding. And Veronica, go away. They are gone. Seraphia, again you forgot the flowers. Here is the last one. Veronica, it is a white flower. I am tired. Seraphia, its fragrance rises all the way to the great teacher, and its perfume intoxicates even those who dwell in Uran. And with that, we leave you now. Our friend has grown weary. George, thank you. We shall call you again after the meal. Veronica, they have departed. September 13th, 1964, 3:30 p.m., Philip and Seraphia. Veronica, they have arrived. Philip, ask whatever you wish. I am at your disposal. George, my dear friend, on other occasions you spoke to us about levels, heights, and the higher ones. What are the criteria by which spirits are ranked, and what have some done to become more luminous than others? Philip, no one can ever enter a place that has not been earned. Place and light are conquered by each being through his own efforts. The higher realms belong to those who labored during earthly life. We ourselves no longer accumulate light now, but we experience the joy of serving those on earth. It is a joy to become servants to those below us, helping them rise at least a little higher. Human beings worship us, yet we are their servants. If only they knew how deeply loved they are, how much more they would strive for those dwellings whose beauty even we rejoice in. No one will ever be exactly like another. Each spirit possesses something unique, different colors, different realms, different dwellings. All the planets above are in light, and through what we do, through the help we give, our own joy is also prepared. The halo we receive within the divine glory that reigns in places ever more beautiful and welcoming for those who arrive there through their own effort and energy. George, if such a hierarchy exists, then there must also be a summit. Philip, yes, that summit is the Father of all, God himself. George, and all others stand beneath him? Philip, yes, then Christ too, as the Son of God, stands beneath the Father through obedience to him. Philip, beneath the Father, yet possessing power and light from the Father. George, have you studied Leviticus? Philip, no, I already told you, my missions are military in nature. George, then another question. Does a hell of flames truly exist, with devils and tortures? Philip, there exists the hell of conscience. That is the greatest suffering of all. A torment caused not by another being, but by the person himself through his own deeds. The devil, as people imagine him, is merely an invention meant to frighten humanity away from evil. The hell of remorse is far more painful than any earthly fire or torture. It is the valley of lamentation, where those who refuse to know and live in truth grieve and suffer. Yet, not only the careless dwell there. There are also those who have become utterly corrupted, beings who no longer feel remorse at all, and exist in a kind of madness, spreading hatred, envy, and lies everywhere around them. George, where is this valley of lamentation you speak of? Philip, the whole earth is such a valley. All who die continue their existence here upon earth, preserving both their understanding and their spiritual level. The good remain good. The evil continue their wickedness, or else re-enter physical bodies to torment humanity further with their cruelty. People call this the devil, but they are still human beings who once left earthly bodies. George, listening to other spirits, I concluded that earth exerts different levels of attraction. The worse a spirit becomes, the more strongly earth pulls upon it. Philip, the heavy ones, that is what we call those of dark and burdened color, suffer the bitterest existence. They require no guards preventing them from reaching the higher dwellings. They themselves are incapable of rising. They torment one another continually, and refuse to allow any among them to ascend. No one can save such beings. George, does paradise exist? There exists the paradise of spiritual perfection. It is the state of love, reached through countless good deeds. Paradise does not mean stagnation or inactivity. It means rest within the beauty and harmony of intense and meaningful activity. George, many people think of paradise as something conquered through ascetic performances, fasting, prostrations, poverty. Philip, their striving is beautiful, but they shall conquer that place only when they perform so many good deeds that their spirit itself becomes white with light. Then such a soul is received, guided, remains there for a time, and may even return once more into a body to continue its work upon earth. George, then humanity's true ideal is not winning paradise, but becoming purified through good deeds. Philip. Of course. Yet people cling to different ideals and act according to them. Whatever ideal one may follow, one thing alone matters: to do good. In truth, paradise simply means perfect goodness. George, then ascetic practices hold only secondary importance. Take fasting, for example. Some ascetics have performed extraordinary feats, believing that by voluntarily enduring hunger, they would receive great rewards beyond. Philip, there is no such thing as fasting food and non-fasting food. Those who fast merely fulfill laws created by men. Because the human body becomes weaker during fasting, the mind may become more attentive to things that draw it away from the teaching of the great teacher. A gluttonous person weakens himself through fasting, so he may finally meditate a little. God has no need of fasters, he needs good people. He has no need of alms given for appearances or ritual penances. He does not delight in endless lamentations or tears. God is not a tyrant demanding such things. He is not a tyrant, but he is just. He is merciful, yet under no circumstance does he tolerate wickedness. George, mystical traditions present humanity with the ideal of the unceasing prayer. Philip, very few on earth are truly people of prayer. The reality is that a human being cannot live in a state of perpetual spiritual burning, because true prayer is a burning. A person would consume himself completely, melt away and accomplish nothing further. All who carry a deep thirst within them know such moments. Everyone passes through them for a time, and afterward continues with his work. George, what about the other renunciations, the whole domain of mortifications and self-denial? Philip, restrictions exist for the wild and undisciplined, whether men or beasts, so that they may be controlled. Those who truly know measure are free from all restrictions, because by their very nature they already understand balance in all things. George, and concerning the ideal of poverty and owning nothing, what is your opinion? Does God wish man to live in deprivation? Philip, no. God wishes all people to possess what is necessary for life. Wealth is not a sin when a person uses it well, for himself and for his fellow man. Wealth becomes sinful only when it begins to possess the person. A man may be poor and still extremely greedy. The important thing is not to become enslaved by riches. Human beings should acquire material goods, labor for them, gather them, as though they were going to live forever, and yet remain inwardly free from them, as though they were not truly theirs. George, then civilization and comfort are necessary for a higher spirituality. Philip, naturally, it is only normal that human beings should have conditions favorable to their work and activity. George, I have always considered all the great discoverers and creators in every field of civilization and culture to be saints. Philip, and rightly so. Creative activity produces the greatest energetic yield, the kind that bears light. George, you see, my friend, people read the words, "Sell all that you have, take up your cross, and follow me." And they understood this literally, abandoning everything, wandering in total poverty, cultivating deprivation as a virtue in itself, believing this is how the apostles lived. Philip, humanity has misunderstood many things. Those words refer to abandoning the passion for wealth, leaving behind the obsessive desire to accumulate riches, and instead earning through one's deeds those dwellings I spoke of earlier today. Everything depends on how each person understands. Yet there is only one true meaning. The apostles were not destitute beggars. All of them possessed what they needed. And if they followed the great teacher, it was not because they had nothing else to do, but because they were overwhelmed by the greatness of his words and his presence. Christ, the great teacher, was poor only in sin, but rich in light. Nothing material was lacking to him. George, now I would like us to move to another subject, the holy mysteries, the Eucharist. How do you regard it? Philip, it is reverence for the venerable body of the great teacher, through which man may unite himself to the great teacher. George, can it truly be said to be flesh from his flesh, and blood from his blood? Philip, each person receives according to his belief. If he believes it is truly his body, then the union becomes real accordingly. If he believes it is merely bread and wine, then he receives only bread and wine. If you receive me as an apostle, then you unite yourselves to me, and what I experience, you also experience. Everything begins within yourselves. It depends entirely upon your inner attitude. If you despise these things and think contemptuously of his teaching, then you fall. But if you see in them the great teacher himself, then through that attitude, you rise, using the forms available to you as supports. If a sinner believes he receives the body of the great teacher, nothing happens immediately. But if, afterward, he places a limit upon his sins and changes his path, then he receives true benefit. George. Then the essential thing is the boundary established by the effort of one's own will. Those who achieve this without external means are already on the right path and can do good even without other forms and rituals. Philip, listen carefully. Human life is like a difficult road one must travel. You carry a heavy burden on your back, and the journey is long. You bring food and drink with you. You nourish yourself. You rest. But suddenly, a tunnel appears along your path, and you must pass through it. If you have no light with you, then your food and rest become useless, and you are forced to turn back to find illumination. That is what the symbol you call the body and blood of Christ is like, a light you carry with you, a light you hold on to. I speak here of those who place their hope not in the bread and wine themselves, but in the one whom they represent, the being, the person of the great teacher. George, I want to clarify the importance of the Eucharist. I believe it is not absolute and cannot be absolute. Hundreds of millions of people belonging to countless religions and confessions have never even heard of these mysteries, and yet we cannot say they lack the light you described. Philip, the ray of light I spoke about may also be any good deed performed along life's journey, a deed whose light guides you through darkness. As for the other peoples of the world, each possesses its own path towards spiritual realization, though all aim toward the same goal, the acquisition of as many good deeds as possible for the life beyond. Each person clings to whatever he can, just as a drowning man clings even to the smallest blade of grass in order to save himself. So too humanity struggles through various means, symbols, and forms in order to obtain one ray of light, one place of light in our world, one place of rest and joy. Human beings cling to something. Everything depends upon how they cling and how far they advance through that effort. Your road is long. It is difficult. Many people shall walk upon it after you. Be careful how you guide them. Be careful what you show them. Be careful how you clothe them, not in passing garments, but in those things that endure in our world. Be careful what staffs you place into their hands. George, please answer me honestly, my friend. Does a person commit any sin if he does not attend church or temple, does not bow or perform prostrations, does not follow ascetic or mystical prescriptions, yet studies, creates, performs good deeds, remains generous, just, and honest? Does such a man sin? Does he commit sacrilege simply because he does not participate in the formal religious program of his faith? Philip, my dear friend, not all people are alike. Human beings need many things together. They lean upon beliefs and hopes in order to sustain themselves and advance. Each acts according to his own understanding. George, but people must know clearly what is authentic and what is false, what is unnecessary and what is truly essential. Philip, it will take a long time before anyone can make humanity understand such things. George, some, those more backward, will remain delayed in understanding. Others will understand. Many people already live far removed from formal structures. I do not mean evil people, but honest individuals no longer satisfied with the myths and stories of religions. They seek something more, something that even Christ himself could not speak directly at that time, but only through parables, because humanity first had to discover the sciences before it could truly understand. Let me continue. Christianity still often treats the union of bodies as weakness, quoting Psalm 50, "In sin did my mother conceive me." Tell me plainly, can love itself truly be a sin, a transgression? Philip, the union of bodies becomes truly sanctifying only when it creates and raises up a luminous beacon from which all those unfulfilled in love may themselves receive light and joy. Such love cannot be called sin. On the contrary, it is elevation. Sinful union is that which seeks only carnal satisfaction, pleasure for its own sake, without mutual completion, strengthening, and building together. Seraphia departed from the body before I did, but after I too departed, she helped me so greatly in my work that we now merge together while contemplating your joy and the joy of others. And especially when we return to our beautiful palace, we unite, while gazing upon one another in love and peace. Ah, if only you could know such unions. George, then only through love can harmony and the highest light be achieved. Philip. Yes. George, while the other abstinences and mortifications are far from necessarily benefiting man. Philip. It depends how, when, and for what purpose they are practiced. George. Without doubt that is true. Another thing. Christianity often glorifies simplicity, pointing to the apostles as simple fishermen, uneducated, narrowly spiritual men. Philip. The apostles were not uneducated. Here too humanity has misunderstood things. The apostles were great thinkers. Those who narrow their concerns and interests do so out of laziness. Only a many-sided mind, one that searches deeply into everything, leads toward light and fruitful results. No one can understand the mysteries of life and spirit except the one who has labored greatly, gathering broad and varied knowledge. George, do you not think there existed minds that intentionally directed understanding in another direction, with hidden motives? Philip. Why do you ask? George. Because a tyrant, in order to dominate and rule others, needs a backward conception to give to his subjects. What could be more useful to a tyrant than subjects who believe in simplicity and poverty, waiting for harmony and justice only in the life beyond? Is this not the most effective way for a tyrant to profit from his subjects without sharing his wealth with them? Philip. Those who distorted the teaching of the great teacher belong among those who failed to gain a place in the world of light. That is why they do everything possible to dominate others, to feel them beneath themselves, and to exploit them while keeping them trapped under exactly the mentality you described. At that point, Veronica interrupted. Veronica, please stop the questions, I'm exhausted. George, we thank you, beloved friends, for your kindness. May God reward your service with his blessing.